let's go. Talking awesome people and the things they know. From acting to writing, dice on the table, art on the wall, yeah, anything's able. We'll chase a tangent, dive too deep. Movies, Batman, Smith, Marvel geeks, everything is awesome.
Welcome to this week's edition of Everything is Awesome. I'm your host, Kev, and this is the show where for the last 10 years, we've talked to awesome people about awesome things. Holy smokes, 10 years of awesome, man. More than half my podcasting career, of almost 19 years at this point. What an incredible stat and thing to be part of. And just so grateful that this is still part of my life and that I'm able to talk to all the amazing people that I'm able to talk to. It's not just friends. It's people who are brand new that I've never heard of, that I've never talked to before, that maybe I am just incredible fans of, and they are gracious enough to come on here. And a lot of times they end up being friends, which is the cool thing. But you know what? Something that we have been saying for the last few weeks is that we were going to be doing these intros live with our guests, starting with the 10-year anniversary episode. And in the editing process, I discovered that it felt inauthentic. It just wasn't what I imagined it would be. And I feel like this is the better process, having a future Kev from the time of the recording come and introduce the show and after the show. But I also want to get you guys to the show quicker. And for that reason, we are going to be introducing something else to the show, mid-rolls, which we've done before. But we're going to do it on a more regular basis, just so that, you know, like today is the 10-year anniversary show. So instead of like front loading that with all 10-year anniversary talk, we'll throw that in the mid-roll. So that's the big thing. And because of that, let's not wait any longer to get to our guest, an incredible actor, an incredible comedian, an incredible fan, and more importantly, just an incredible person. And someone that, you know, agreed to do some wild ideas, and they are my favorite type of people when I say, hey, do you want to come on the show and do XYZ? And normally they have been a guest on the show first, and it was someone that like I had good chemistry with, and then we usually, oh, you want to go do a panel, you want to do this wild, like these. And I hit our guest up, Taylor Kellar, with an email with two ideas at once. I was like, hey, I discovered you on your TikTok because of Back to the Future. And because of that, like I have two asks for you. One is I want you to be a guest on the show for the 10-year anniversary. It's not going to happen for a couple months. In the meantime, I'm also recording a episode for the 200th episode of Everything is Awesome, and I want you to be part of that. And that's a Star Wars actual play. So Taylor was gung-ho and jumped right in about it. And I'm so grateful because it is another creative person that is willing to play and willing to jump in and do things. And I'm incredibly hopeful that she'll be just as gracious in the future with her time, because she's, again, great person first and foremost, and is always down to like talking off air about different projects. Like seems like she's always down to play and do fun stuff. So without further ado, let's sit back and chat with the one and only Taylor Kellar right here, only on awesomepodcast.com. And like any good show approaching their 10-year anniversary, we're going through a reboot. And that means new intro, new theme song, and hopefully, if I planned this right, a new video intro as well, because we've hit YouTube. And like every other good IP, we're going to reboot the first episode. That's right. For those that have been listening since the beginning, our first guest was Garrett Smith. We sat down, talked about many of a thing, and I believe it was technically episode 2 because it was a 2-parter, but we talked Back to the Future. So we are going to gender swap, as one does during a reboot. So on this week's episode, and yes, I'm doing intros live now, so get used to that as I get used to it. You may know her from Let's see. Mirror, Mirror, The Ballad of King Henry, The Wolves, The Rocky Horror Show, American Idiot, The Thanksgiving Play. Uh, Probably her most important and favorite role, though I won't put words in her mouth. Back to the Future 4 as Maggie McFly. One of my favorite roles, of course, is as from Everything is Awesome, episode 200 and 201, Kessa Kelkar. Please welcome to the show, Taylor Kellar.
Yay! Thanks for having me. Oh my gosh, you really did your research.
I did. So, whoa! Let's not put that.
I mean, you saw a
Listen,
thing. Yeah.
I long standing of this show is I don't do my research.
Right.
Because this is supposed to be a conversation between people that, as I get, return guests, it's just return conversations, but this is a casual conversation that one might have in a bar.
Of course.
Is the goal. And though I drink coffee in bars now.
Let me grab the bar snacks and the peanuts and things like that, and we'll be set.
So if you've listened to the podcast for the last few weeks, our episode 200 was our Star Wars actual play that Taylor was very kind to jump on. So what I really love is when I reach out to people and they're like so game to play. And you are definitely one of those people. Like you instantly said yes to two things right away. That with like out question. So I was like, all right, this is a great person to have in my like creative back pocket to do things.
Hell yeah.
And like a week later, I'm moving to LA. I'm like, oh, great. Losing another Philly person.
We have time, but that is the dream.
Well, yeah, and it's so I will say to start off the bat, because I think when episode 200 dropped, you had posted about it and about coming on to this episode here and to talk about Back to the Future. And I will say, as I mentioned in part of your resume there, like you are more than the sum of just Back to the Future girl on TikTok. So this, I guess, thank God you only watched the first one, because like we are going to talk more than just Back to the Future, obviously.
Yeah.
It was what I love about hitting 10 years is that I can just have fun with the fact that like, oh, everybody goes through a reboot after 10. Jay and Silent Bob did it. Why not?
Yeah. Come on now. Keeping it fresh.
Right. Well, not really, but and I was trying to find a way to also play our intros live just because I don't want to do anything. I'm after 10 years, I'm trying to streamline the show.
Of course.
In a little bit, but so before we touch on Back to the Future, let's get to know you, because we've only, as far as this show is concerned, has known you as Kessa Kelkar.
Yeah, another fictional character. Yikes.
Yes. And so where did when did the love of acting hit for you?
God, yeah. It's funny, I was in 4th grade and I think I wasn't playing sports then, but like I remember seeing auditions for the school play and I had a substitute, and I cannot remember the substitute's name, but I said to her, I was like, yeah, right, like no offense, sorry, she was great. But I remember being like, I really want to try this. I've never done it before, but I'm scared. And she was like, well, give it a shot. And if you like it, great. You found something to do. And if not, you never have to do it again. She's like, but you'll never know if you don't try. And so the first role that I was ever cast in was mashed potatoes in the Thanksgiving dinner. And we did a performance for the whole school. Like we had a school assembly and there were like a couple different, they were like small scenes. Like they were all like 5 minutes long. And so, a few of them went back to back, but I think like in that moment I was like, oh my God, like I can do this. But I kind of kept with theater. I did some sports, but I was never really good at sports. Surprise, surprise. And so theater was kind of the thing that I always went back to. And I don't think it was until like middle school when it kind of clicked for me, that I was good at it. And I don't mean that in a, I'm the best, but in a very humble way. It was like the first time I realized that I was good at it and I really enjoyed it. And so I decided, kind of to keep through it throughout high school. I, started kind of getting to see, like, getting to realize like what that career would look like and how I could go about it. I mean, there's a ton of different ways to go about acting and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I've been acting for the past, I don't know, I want to say 20 years, but that's probably not correct. But probably around 9 years old is when I
It's
started. Yeah.
it's wild to especially as you approach your 30s and
Right.
or your 40s, like when you start thinking about things that are like, oh, that can't be 20 years ago, and it
Right.
like, oh, it really was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I actually as so my oldest broke his collarbone in wrestling the other day,
Oh my God.
and I was talking to my buddy Mike about it, and we I was like, "Do you know that in February it will be the 20-year anniversary that I snapped my ankle straight in half,
Oh my God.
out out in Philly, down in Manayunk,
Whew.
uh, drinking, of course, as one does, and, uh, and my what happened was my buddy slipped and fell, and ha ha ha, we all laughed. So to get revenge, he got ahead of me, and as I stepped, like, into, like, a little embankment, he body checked me, and I fell, but my
Oh.
ankle didn't. It
Hey.
was super fun,
Oh my
and
God.
like, I was like, "I can't believe that that was 20 years ago," and
Yeah.
it is because it doesn't feel like it, especially, like, I mean, you go even further back to thinking about, like, the '90s, which is my favorite era of any time,
Period.
and, it's like, that's not 30 years ago, that's literally 30 years ago was the
Seriously.
'70s,
Right.
that's just 30 years ago. And it's especially, like I said, hitting my early 40s is where I'm like, oof, oh boy,
Right.
things happened a long time ago.
Yeah, and it's like when those memories are so vivid, right? Like when you can feel yourself in those wow, listen to this. When you can feel yourself in those memories, it's like, "Oh my god, that was over how many years ago?" Like it's
Right,
crazy when it
right.
feels so vivid.
And it really does start happening, like, I think around 30. Like,
Yeah,
I think for me, it happened around 35 is when it really started happening,
right,
but, like, 30 was like a milestone. Like, after 21, there's no real milestone until you hit these decades,
right.
and 30 wasn't like I've never felt like an adult, like, ever.
Yeah,
Despite having kids, despite, hitting these milestones that one is supposed to hit, I always feel like a big giant kid because I love comic books, I love comic book movies, I love Star Wars, I love Back to the
yeah,
Future. But I think that's just the generation, right? Like, very specifically, I think it maybe started with my generation, but like so much easier for the generations later
mm,
to be a geek in high school. I wasn't quite shoving a locker.
yeah,
I'm not that old, but I am like people didn't like comic book stuff when I was in high
mm.
school.
Yeah, that's relatable. I mean, I wouldn't say I was like a nerd or a geek, but I definitely was a theater kid, and that was a weakness.
Right.
Um, and so I remember like there was one time I was sitting in homeroom and I was really excited about the 2012 revival of Godspell. Mind you, not like a, huge, religious person, but loved the revival for whatever reason. And I was so excited about it that like one of the classmates overheard me and started mocking me, and I just remember like in that was the moment that I was like, "Oh, this isn't cool and I'm a loser." So, yeah, that was rough,
Yeah,
but
it was very easy to realize you were a loser in the '90s and early 2000s because
yeah,
of, "Oh, I like comic books," or, "Oh, I like wrestling." Wrestling was
right.
the thing even more so than comic books. Like, in the late '90s, early 2000s, there was a clear divide of, like, WWF or E fans
Mhm,
and not. And I was a like, so before I got into, like, anything creative, like, wanting to like, I was 25 before I really realized I wanted to, like, do anything in film.
mhm,
Uh, so I was like a late bloomer in that. But what I wanted to do since I was like 12 was wrestle. And to the point, like I trained with a guy that was like a huge on the indie scene. He worked for the WWE. And but in high school, when you start wrestling in the backyard, it was something we didn't like. We kept in a close circle until
mhm.
like 12th grade when I stopped caring. Like 12th
Yeah,
grade was the year that like I'm like I don't give a fuck about anybody. Like I'm out of here soon.
yeah,
Um, but so that for me was like, oh, I can't talk about wrestling because, or I got to
Yeah.
be real like quiet about it. But sorry, this is gonna
No.
stay into the show 100%. My dog 100% got into something.
Oh, no. That's the
That's
worst.
future Kev's problem. That is,
Period.
but uh, for when I realized the newer generations had it easier, and you might be part of this generation, I don't know,
Mhm.
was in 2015 when Force Awakens was coming out,
Okay.
and there was a commercial with a kid in high school that built an R2D2 unit and
Yes.
then drove that RTD unit to a girl's house to ask her to the movies to see Force Awakens.
I feel like I
And
remember this commercial, yeah.
and she said, "Yes, I'll go." And I was like, "Wow, times are really different."
Oh, how the
Like
turntables, yeah.
like, wow, wild that that's something, that
Yeah.
you can just openly like now. We can openly like Star Wars.
Right.
It was really like that was like my reckoning of I'm old. And I mean, that was 11 years ago, and I was,
Oh, so this is
uh
cool now, guys.
right,
We're all in on this. Yeah. No, that's real. I don't know. I don't remember being like so loud and proud about loving Back to the Future in high school. So it's like I don't know how that would have been interpreted, but like now I know that I get like cool experiences and all this shit
right,
because,
right.
I'm loud and proud about, loving it. And yeah, it's like interesting, like you want to hide it away from the world because someone not might not understand it, but then it's like once you realize, oh, nobody actually really cares, or if they care for like 2 seconds, and then they go
Well,
about their
yeah.
day.
Yeah, I mean, especially as adults, like, I mean, no one and again, I think because of the internet,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's really kind of made like, we've all found our people
Right.
globally, and whatnot, but, yeah, it's Back to the Future is it's a weird it's a for me, it's a weird franchise that I fell in love with because it is something that, like, I kinda, like, forgot about for a
Yeah.
long time. Like, there was a summer, and we may have talked about this. So I also reminds me when we were setting up the Star Wars episode,
Hmm.
I was like, I was talking to Mike, and I was like, I really want to find a public place to have everyone meet, so
Hmm.
that I attempt to have this game played in person, Taylor doesn't feel fucking weird. But like even being like, let's set up like a sessions in person session zero. I'm like, as a dad,
Yeah.
she is not doing the right thing. Like,
Listen, well, no, you're absolutely right, but there's also like I don't know. I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of character, hopefully. Um, and I was like, "Oh, that's really nice that, you wanted to meet up." But and it's also like I'm 30, right? Like I'm an
right,
adult. Like I'm a legal adult. I can make my own decisions. But no, that is real. And you know what? To be with three guys nonetheless. But
right. The whole time, because I know, like, I've known Mike since childhood. Like, we
yeah.
went to elementary school together. We became best friends in middle school. Jeff, I've known for about a decade now. And and we're close, but not that close. Like, we don't talk like daily or anything.
Mhm.
But still, like, I'm like, there's an issue because the three of us at least know of each other in
Right.
some fashion. I'm the glue. And I'm like, this is like, again, and yeah, you're right. You are an adult, but you are an adult female in the
Yeah.
city of Philadelphia.
I hate to say it, I really because I think the problem. Well, hold on a second. Get ready for this. Buckle up. So, I mean, I had a roommate in college who was not, I'm gonna say, traditionally attractive, right? Like she had a buzzed head. She, wore like really extravagant, like she was just kind of like, I don't know. She did her own thing, right? Respect, and good for her. Not friends with her anymore, nonetheless, but that's what happens, right, with college roommates. Anyway, she was so terrified of going out and about like by herself. And I remember thinking like, what do you have to worry about? Like what, and no disrespect, but it's like, she was so anxious like every time that we would go out, and it's like, I promise you they are not like, no one is even, and like mind you, like I was still very awkward and I was still trying to figure out my own,
Mhm.
level, fashion and who I was and blah blah blah. Blah. So like, they weren't looking at us. I looked like I literally, went out to college bars looking like Jess Day from New Girl. Like I had like this star dress on and a purple sweater and like, nobody's like, you know what? Like this is the girl. This is the girl to do it. Like, it's so I don't know. But it's also like you live in Philadelphia enough, you kind of get to know like how to behave. Like, I'm not afraid. I'm a
Well,
little
I mean,
afraid.
listen, I think that, I mean, I don't want, again, I'm the worst part of America, a cisgender white dude, right? So,
Period.
uh, hard hard for me to say this, but, like, it feels like not having that mentality takes agency away from you just being a human being in the world, right?
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's like also, I don't know, like I feel like I scare men too. Like, you know what I mean? Like I fear or like I don't know. Like you kind of get into the I don't know, this character, right? Like nobody cares and if they do care, I'll fight them. And nobody wants to fight anybody.
Right.
At least in Center City. Other areas of the city I can't speak on, but
I remember, I think it was the year I turned 21, for St. Patrick's Day.
uh-oh.
Me and a buddy went down, for like I don't know if they still do it, but they did like a bus tour, to
Mhm.
Bar Hop. And, we went I think we went on St. Patrick's Day thinking, "Oh, of course it's running on St." But it was, like, either the Friday before or the Friday after that this was happening. So,
Mhm.
like, we're like, "Oh, we're just gonna walk now." And
Yeah.
I was at the time and I'm still not overly familiar with the city, like, I have my sections. I go basically around the convention center and South
Yeah.
Street, areas I
Period.
go. But so when we did this, I forget where we started, but we ended up walking around to different bars, and then we were going somewhere, and we like had the direction in our head. We're also drunk, walking around the city,
Mhm.
and at some point, I'm like, this doesn't feel right, man. And I
Right.
call my uncle who lives in the city, at the time, and I was like, hey, man, we're here, trying to go here. And he's like, turn around and run, like walk fast, get out of like, you don't want to be
Oh,
drunk and
no.
alone, or like even just the two. You just go there, go to this bar. You're like 10 minutes away and stay. Don't go
Yeah.
anywhere else. Like you're too drunk to be doing this. So
Real.
yeah, so that was the only time that I've ever been in the city where I ever like was worried. I as a teenager, so when I was wrestling in the backyard, we had like there was half of us that were like like 17, 18
Mhm.
years old, and then the other half of us that were like 19, 20 years old going to college.
Yeah.
And so me and Mike went down to Temple to pick up a buddy of ours because I it was either for a show that we had in the week over the weekend or just to hang out or whatever. We were bringing him back
Mhm.
to Levittown, but it was again probably one of my first experiences going down to the city on my own and like specifically the Temple area, right?
Oh
Like
god.
is a very
Yeah.
special area.
Yes,
And
it
I don't know
is.
if I don't know if it's still that way. I drive through every now and then. I don't see the drug deals going on anymore. I don't see
Right.
um the guys crying rapture, screaming rapture anymore, but I'm sure they're somewhere. I'm sure they are. But
I'm sure. Yeah, I don't really hang up near Temple. I mean, yeah, oof, I mean, what to say, right? I feel like North Broad is a very different vibe. And I don't know. Like I feel like it's trying to, you know, make itself kind of like it's trying to, I don't know, collect itself, but I don't know. I also hate hanging around like college campuses. College kids scare me. I feel like I don't know.
that's that's something that a 40-year-old should be saying.
Whew, no. I mean, I was back at my alma mater over the weekend, Penn State, and these kids, like I'm just like, you're you're children. And but you don't feel like a kid during that age. Like you're like, I'm so
No.
adult. I'm 21. And it's like, please, please be a child. Like please be a child for as long as you can. Like, make mistakes. Don't put all that responsibility on yourself just yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and this actually, so to you've been posting on social media about like your move to LA and
Yeah.
like looking for advice and not the negative advice like you've heard like you've been very open about all that.
Yeah.
And like I saw that, and that's like the reason I wanted to reach out to people that I knew and specifically knew that would give you good advice, or
Yeah.
at least give you not bad, like not share the bad with you. Is because like I was that person at one point, and I didn't listen to my gut, and like I didn't go like and follow that
Yeah.
quote unquote dream. And like I'm not a guy that regrets. Like if you regret, like I'm where I am where I'm supposed to be. But like as a guy who wanted to wrestle, like I was training with a guy, and like I
Yeah.
was at this point of like, do I go all in and start traveling,
Right. Yeah.
or do I listen to and I'll be interested to hear your take on this, but I come from a generation of I use this term loosely, kids, but I guess kids at the time, right? Where your parents were like, you need to go to college, you need to have a
Yeah.
real job and have a real career. Like you can't, you're from Levittown, you can't do XYZ, you can't be a wrestler. Like wrestling is a lot like acting in the sense that like it's a one in
Yeah.
a million shot to like actually make it to like a big name, right?
Well, yeah, and
Um,
it's like wrestling's also a form of like theatrical performance. Like, I mean, like
mhm,
WWE, and and you get those
right.
characters, right? Like, I did not, and I didn't know that. Like, found that out very late in life. Like, I was at Weird Fest and they were doing a wrestling match, and my one friend was like, "Yeah, like to think that this is all, stage combat." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And so, yeah,
I mean,
really,
what I
yeah,
love about so when I was wrestling, I mean, what I loved about it, and I didn't do anything else creatively because it was kind of it hit a lot of things that I think when you are a creative person, you're trying to chase. Like you're a writer, you're improv,
yeah,
you're telling a story, with your body and with your opponent's body. So it's a lot of different aspects of storytelling that
hmm,
at the time, like for me, was all I needed to like battle some form of depression or just be
yeah,
like, whenever I was sad, wrestling was there. And whether it was because I could take a chair, hit somebody, or somebody could hit me with a chair or whatever, or was it the actual storytelling aspect and the creative part of it, I don't know. It could have been probably the creative thing because I found after a year of being on medicine that worked, it got me back on track where I needed to be because
yeah,
I'm really bad at taking pills. So diving into creative stuff really has like back into everything is awesome, back into like this movie project that I've wanted to do for years. Like I'm starting to write again, and like I'm a big fan of Dropout. This it's from College Humor. Like College
yeah,
Humor advanced to this, and like I want like something like that locally, like we're like a Philadelphia area, like basically comedy sketch group that like does a bunch of different things like that.
yeah.
So like that's something that I'm heavily like my 2026 thing is that
Yeah.
very specifically finding like a group of people that want to like do that but locally and like still do it online, like put us to anyway. So I spin so many creative plates because there's nothing for me that I think hits the same dopamine levels that wrestling and I guess medicine that I'm really bad at taking really offer.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like limit it to like, all right, pick your three, pick your three,
The
and
triangle.
yeah, like have three things that you're really good at this year, and make those work.
Yeah.
So I just so going all the way back to like the whole. I was told go to college. I was
Yeah.
told get a real job, do all that. Jokes on them, I dropped out of college, still got a real job.
Yeah.
But, so, like, I didn't travel for wrestling, I didn't hop into it. So when I saw you posting about this, I was like, "Oh, that sucks." Like, that speaks to me from, like, a very personal experience. So,
Yeah.
um, s s so I guess the question long-winded way of asking, like, how as someone that's part of a slightly newer generation than I am, like what's the outlook from parents or from family saying I want to be an actress, or like
Yeah.
now, even now in your life now, like I want to move to LA. Like, what's
Yeah.
the feedback from family? And I mean, it sounds like some friends are giving you negative feedback, but
Yeah, well,
family specifically.
yeah. I mean, so, I always like I had to go to college. Like that was like a non-negotiable. Like it was like you're going to go to college and you're going to get a degree and you're going to, whatever. Um when I was applying to college, I did not apply to theater programs. Like I really wanted to, but my parents and it's like they knew the truth. It was very hard to make money as an actor. Like the chances of becoming famous, or the chances of having a career that could sustain like a nice life in acting is like very hard to come by. And also like even the people, the actors that you see on like NBC shows are still struggling. And like there is no, unless you're, I don't know, freaking Angelina Jolie, and like you might be set for life, but it it really is a long haul, and you got to get really really lucky. And so they knew that. And so when I was going through college, I applied at undecided, and the School of Theater was having auditions for their main stage season. They were doing Spring Awakening, which is one of my favorite musicals, and I was like, well, I want to be in Spring Awakening. Here's my only chance. And so I auditioned for the musical, mind you, in front of other kids my age, like the freshman class of musical theater kids, being like, I'm undecided and I'm not in the school, and here I am, auditioning for your show.
Mm-mm.
And I did not get called back for Spring Awakening, but I did get called back for the play that at the time, dean of school theater was directing. And I was kind of bummed because, wanted to be in Spring Awakening, but I was like, okay, this is like, I got a call back for the lead in the School of Theater production. So, that, I wanted to take it seriously, really put kind of all my eggs in that basket. Went to the callback, met with the dean, and during my callback, he's like, if you don't get this show, I want you to come back and audition for the school. Like, I want you to come and audition for the major. And so I think it was like, I told my dad, like, I was asked to come audition. I was asked to kind of basically be like a theater major. Like, they don't do that for everybody. I got very lucky. And so it took a little bit of convincing. It took, I was like, this is something that I really want to do, but here's all the ways that getting a theater degree could like transfer to other careers and things like that. Like, it doesn't have to be acting, even though I was secretly being like, Broadway or bust, baby. Like, we are, this is it. And so, so I auditioned for the School of Theater, got my BA in theater performance. And after graduating, I mean, it was, you need to get a 9 to 5. You need to get a job that you can support yourself. You need a stable career. So I did a little bit of everything, but like, I've always had a day job. I've always had, I've always been working in terms of, not necessarily acting, but doing something during the, like, at least having a steady income so I can
Right.
pursue acting
Right.
and
Right.
go
Right.
do the things, which, you know, I'm really grateful for, not to, to be quite honest. Like, I have, a life that I have health insurance. I have, a lot of great things that a lot of my actor friends don't have, or it's not easy for them to come by. So, it's like I get the best of both worlds. And not only that, I have a day job that supports, my acting goals and dreams and things like that, which is really unheard of. So,
Right.
so it's like, and that's just something I really wish theater kids knew, is like, this career is not going to love you at all. And and if you're like, if you're one of the lucky ones, go for it and run. But the rest of you are not going to be as lucky. And the rest, like, you're not just going to walk out of college. Like, a lot of kids don't walk out of college going straight to Broadway. Like, there's going to be pain, and it's not going to be easy. But I don't know. I'm really grateful for my day job, and and I've never felt more artistically fulfilled than I have, with my 9 to 5 and being able to do whatever I want after 5 o'clock.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
So this is a heavy question. Also a little fun. Why
Yeah.
do you hate Philadelphia and why do you want to move? No, I'm just joking. I'm just
Oh,
joking.
I don't hate Philadelphia. I really love, like, that's the problem. I love Philadelphia so much. I really, really do. It's just the theater scene in Philadelphia is impossible to break through. Notorious, like, everybody knows. Everybody knows that the
Mhm.
Philadelphia theater scene is very hard to break into. And I've just been trying, and um not to say that like I've given up or anything like that, but I feel myself leaning towards film. I feel myself leaning towards,
Right.
you know, creating, I don't want to say digital content because that's not right, but you know, at least having something that I can put online and have other people enjoy,
Mhm.
and, like I can create my own audience that
Right.
I wouldn't necessarily be able to create if I continue to just like try and break through the Philadelphia theater door, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, and I was totally joking. Like I know,
I know you
uh,
were.
and it's funny because Mike and I were actually talking about this the other day because he started when I was wrestling. He also wrestled a little bit, but his thing was acting. Like he did,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, I think he did some stuff maybe at our, the local community college, but he's been in a couple like M Night Shyamalan movies as an extra.
Oh my gosh.
Um, we were I went down with him, or I guess up to with him to New York when they I guess they were WB at the time, but the CW was filming this
Yeah.
show called The Bedford Diaries.
Okay. Period.
Which is why I think in my social media profiles I now say that one guy from The Bedford Diaries because I went up with him to because they needed like a mass amount of extras.
Yeah.
So he's done that. And I would tag along every now and then. This and again, this was a time where like I hadn't realized I wanted to be in that world, and like I don't want to be in that world necessarily. Like
Yeah.
if I'm gonna if I'm gonna act, like I do want to act, but I want to act to my own crap. Like I have my
Yeah.
own, basically my version of Kevin Smith stuff, or even Jake and Amir stuff. Like Jake and Amir is they're College Humor guys. For
Yeah. Yeah.
anyone that
Yeah. Oh,
doesn't
I
know,
yes.
uh, College Humor was very influential to me
Mhm.
in not necessarily as a teen. I feel like in my 20s, and I'm like early College Humor, back when
Yeah.
Jake and Amir were part of it, Streeter was part of it. It was, I think, before the guy who runs it now, Sam Reich, before he was even really involved.
Oh wow.
Uh, and that was so they were super influential. Like to this day, the movie that I want to like my Clerks is like part Clerks, part Jake and Amir, basically. But
Yeah.
uh, uh, so I, but going around with him to some of his acting things was super fun. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was like you have to, it's not around here. Like you do have to go to New York or
Yeah.
wherever. And I guess now it's the industry is
It's
changing a bit
changing. Yeah.
as I guess you've been told and
I
not
don't know
wanting
if
to
you've
hear it.
heard. Yeah.
Yeah. But that I, my so my point of view, and this is somebody that's not like ready, like I'm not in a place where I can like reroute my life, right?
Mhm.
But like we live in a digital world, like we're a global world now. So,
Yeah.
but and I think like seeing like again, you've been very open about like the projects that you want to work on,
Mhm.
and that's interest. Like you seem to have a lot of like, oh, I want to like play with these different IPs that already exist
Yeah.
versus, and maybe you're more vocal about that versus the stuff that you create yourself. But why? Because I'm the opposite. Like, there's very little, and we'll eventually get to Back to the Future with this. I would
Yeah.
say out of any IP, if I wanted to get involved with anything, it would only be Back to the Future because I
Oh,
hold that
yeah.
so near and dear to my heart, and I
Yeah.
think there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. Um,
Absolutely.
but I'm more of a like, I want to create my own worlds. So like what gravitates you towards existing IP versus creating your own IP?
Mm. Well, I think, unfortunately, we live in a world where people like things that are familiar. I mean, we see that on Broadway with a lot of the movie musicals, like all the new musicals are based on movies and whatever. Because people like to like we're not necessarily ready for new things until we know that the new thing is safe or whatever. But it's also like, I mean, specifically for Back to the Future, I've always wanted to be Marty McFly. I've always wanted to be, I mean, I say this as a cis woman, right? Like, but there was no Marty McFly for women. There wasn't really like the equivalent in any movies or anything. And not for nothing, I kind of didn't want to be anybody else but Marty McFly. I think Marty is like one of, if not the best male characters ever written. If not the best, one of the best characters ever written. He's such a great guy. And, I mean, as I'm watching the movie, I think he's really got a blueprint to him that's like this is what everybody should aspire to be. He's friendly, he sticks up for his friends, he's, he inevitably wants to follow his dreams, but he also, has a life that he wants to build with Jennifer, and he's a very well-rounded character, and I don't think people really understand that because, they just see this guy wants to bang his mom, and it's like that's not it at all. You miss the whole thing. So it's kind of like, I like the familiarity, but it's also like I like the worlds. I really love those worlds, and I don't love the idea of the book shutting because this thing is over, or like the Guitar Hero series that I'm working on. Like I love the game, and I loved stepping into that character when I would play the game. So it's like, why not bring that character, whoever that, whoever I was back then, let's bring them into now and let's see how they navigate the world. I don't know. It's fun.
It's my favorite thing about watching your, I don't know if it was Instagram or TikTok, but
Yeah.
I think you had at least one, if not several videos about the Guitar Hero show.
Yeah.
I mean, one of it was just like, here's like the 3 or 4 projects that I want to work on or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, that's interesting. Guitar Hero. I mean, makes sense. It's a video game property that hasn't been plucked yet. So
Yeah.
it totally fits like kind of, the vibe that I think you see, like, I mean, there was a Battleship, like there's all these wild movies that you don't think should be movies.
Right.
Guitar Hero is honestly one of them. Like that's wild, or a TV show or movie or whatever. Like that's a wild thing to be like, I have an idea for that. And
Yeah.
then you went into it. I'm like, there was a story. Like,
Right.
right. And I played very specifically Guitar Hero 3 on
Legends
the
of
Wii
Rock. Come on now. Yes.
very often. Like, and I'm not a music guy. I'm so not a music guy. I like talk radio. I like I like film. I like TV show. I don't like
Mhm.
music necessarily. I like a good soundtrack.
Mhm.
And then I get hooked on it and I'll listen to that over and over again. But I don't listen to much, like my music is still like 80s and 90s, maybe
100%.
some early
Same.
2000s.
Yeah.
So, but like I was like, there's a story that I don't remember at all.
Yeah.
And so that was, and that is my, like, out of everything you have written down or that you made public, was like, that's the thing I want to see the most, with or
Oh.
without Jack Black, because that is just and honestly, and obviously it's somebody's IP, right? So it's hard to do just on your own. But
Yeah.
that is something that if I were you, I would focus. And I know you want to focus on the Back to the Future things too, but that to me is like $1 million idea.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like you kind of have it's a fun little game where it's like you have to show them what like, Back to the Future is like the big gun, lack of
Mm,
a better term, like I kind of want to keep that in the arsenal. And also like I'm still kind of working on Back to the Future. Like it really dawned on me at, this weekend. I was like, I kind of want to edit this thing. Like there's a way that we can crank the wrenches and make it a little bit better. And,
mm,
so I, as much as I'm ready, I think the concept is there and I think the idea is there. But I'm ready. I kind of want to put that in the back pocket and then I'll
mm,
approach with like Guitar Hero. It's like, at least I can do this one thing, right? Like, at least I can adapt an IP and give it, a little bit of, give it some legs. But I don't know. Guitar Hero is really exciting to me too because, I mean, you see The Last of Us, you see Fallout, like clearly people are loving these ideas of like their favorite games being made into shows. And, I want it to be stupid. Like I want people to turn it on because they want to get away from the world. Like I want people
right,
to, like I'm hoping it has the humor of Tenacious D, and I'm hoping that it's kind of cringe. It's got the same amount of cringe as Glee. Like, like you're rooting for these characters, but they're also like kind of shitty thing. Like, they're
right,
trying their best. They're figuring out fame as nobodies, like how do you come into that world? How does a non-nepo baby come into fame, right? And what does that look like for them? And I think that's really relatable for a lot of people. I think that's like, why we love these stories so much, seeing these average Joe nobodies get to be in the positions that we want to be in. Like I don't know, I love those kind of stories. I love seeing um people follow their freaking dreams and
right.
and the mess that comes with that, because it is messy and we don't, on social media, when someone achieves something, we don't see the mess and the grossness that comes to, with that dream. So that's what I really am excited to explore with this series in particular.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it is definitely well, and it feels like it's out of, like, let's say the two big IPs you're talking about, that and Back to the
Mhm.
Future. It's definitely the easier one to try to get made, right? Like,
Yes.
I I have big feelings about Back to the Future, and whether there should be anything made or not.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I believe me and my buddy Garrett had this very similar conversation where we're like, we don't trust anybody but ourselves with it, because like there's a
Right.
love that you have with it that you want to make sure that it's treated right, and you just don't trust anybody else to do it right.
100%.
Plus you also have the guys that created it, like, we're not going to do anything until we're dead.
Right.
Like, so
Well,
like
time is
there's a
ticking.
right. Well, that's it, it is like, as we get further and further away from when it was first created, it is like time is ticking. And
Yeah.
like we are closer to the idea of a reboot or a remake or a legacy sequel or something like that,
Yeah.
than ever before, because yes, they're closer to death than not,
Sorry.
unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, listen, time gets most of us,
Right.
that I'm hoping I'm running away, because I got I don't want to die. I got a big fear of death. So I'm running away as much as I can.
Period.
Um but yeah, it's so they're I mean, you obviously have that hurdle, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis are still alive. Probably not happening.
Yeah.
Um I would actually be super interested if there would ever be a pitch for them to have them go forward with something else, because I mean, the last, aside from maybe comics, like the last newish thing that I ever remember from this, is the video game from Telltale,
Yeah.
which for me is like the unofficial fourth chapter of
Right.
that story. It's not. I mean, it's really good. I learned today because after I rewatched your Back to the Future 4 reading. Um, I was like, you guys mentioned Doc Brown's age. I was like, that doesn't sound right. And like, I was like, let
Yeah.
me look. And like, there are conflicting birth years for him because of
Yeah.
the cartoon, the video game, and then not necessarily the movie, but the novel of the movie. I
Yeah.
guess states his birth date. So because I was like, in 2025, that man is 92. That doesn't
Right.
sound right.
Right.
And
Well, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was actually a big hurdle. And I mean, to give you like a Duffer Brothers answer, which I wouldn't, but it's like I imagine that Clara probably was like, "Oh, I don't know what to say. This probably makes the most sense."
I
Yeah.
mean, that checks out too. Like, that makes sense
She's
in
like,
some
what do you
fashion.
want
But
me to say?"
yeah, and like, it's such an unimportant thing. It's
Right.
just it's funny. It's it got me down a rabbit hole of like looking up, like, because you have an idea of when Marty was born, right? Like,
Yeah.
you see, I mean, I guess you saw it on his license, right? I think they clearly say his birth
Yeah.
year. So like, but Doc is a mystery, and I was like, let me go down this rabbit hole today.
He really
Uh,
is. Yeah, he's an enigma. Interesting.
um, and like, according to the game, very, very old. Like, born in 1914, which I don't like. I don't like that age at all.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the game cites him as being born in 1914. The the rabbit hole I went down today is the consensus is born in 1920, meaning 35 in 55 and then 65 in like the present day era
Yeah.
of Back to the Future, which to me is always what I assumed. I just assumed this crazy old man had a crazy young sidekick.
Right.
Uh, so that lines up for what I believe. But like, is I get the other bad thing with trying to do a Back to the Future 4,
Mhm.
especially if you're trying to honor these legacy characters, is like, oh, they're all getting old, and like their
Yeah.
characters also would be like, if you're going to set it in 2025, Doc shouldn't be alive. Aside from
Yeah.
the fact that, like, I think Back to the Future 2 kind of explains it away because he adds years to his life by doing
Right.
that clinic thing. So like,
Right.
you could easily, I think, write that away with like he just went multiple times.
Well, and it's
Um,
also like he could have traveled to the future. Like, you know what I mean? Like he
right.
literally,
Mhm.
like so but no, I mean, it's funny like the I don't want to say inconsistencies, but some of the, you know, yeah, I guess lack of a better term, inconsistencies is
Yeah.
like that's what kind of happens with time travel and that's what's really
Mhm.
really tricky because you can answer it, but it might not be true. It really leads you down those rabbit holes and what is
Time travel is
truth?
such a hard thing to write about because
Yeah.
there's so many rules that you have to establish, and then you have to try to not break those rules, which almost every time travel story does, including Back to the Future. Back
Yeah.
to the Future, specifically the first movie, I think is a perfect movie. Like I
Same.
think from the script's perfect. It's a lot of show don't tell. I
Mhm.
think it does that better than any other movie. But it does break a lot of rules when it comes to time travel.
100%.
Especially as you get through to 2 and 3. Like it just
Yes.
there's it's spaghetti rules at that point.
Yeah, and it's like I feel that the story redeems itself. Like, like you really I think you have to be a really miserable person to be like, the reason I don't like Back to the Future is because it breaks so many rules. Like, okay, get over yourself. And E.T. was a puppet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, extend your imagination for a good 2 hours and just enjoy something. Like, it's funny. I don't know. If anybody really got that upset about the rules, I'd be like, okay, go touch grass.
Right. Again, there's not a single time travel story that doesn't break its
Right.
own rules at some point. Like, I even Endgame or Endgame tried
Right.
to like establish rules and like talk about how these other franchises broke rules, and then they end
Mhm.
up breaking their own rules anyway. So like, it's every franchise does it when they incorporate time travel. So it's a really hard thing. You just got to let it be science fiction. You just got to
Yeah.
let it be.
Like this will never
Um,
happen. Right.
right,
Exactly.
right. Well, I a couple years ago, I joined like a Facebook fan group for Back to the Future, and like it doesn't show. I don't use Facebook very often. It's my least favorite social media. It's garbage, I think. But every now and then I'll hop on, and now that I've been like, I guess, talking about Back to the Future more and interacting with Back to the Future more, I'm seeing a
Mhm.
lot more of that group. And the amount of things these people want to complain about, I'm like, it's just a 2 hour magic trip, guys. Like,
Ugh,
what are we doing?
truly, like give me a break. Like the best though is like people who probably have children of their own being like, I wonder what Jennifer and Marty did when they went up to the lake. I'm like, what do you think they did? And also, like, do you really need to ask that? Like, is that, necessary? It really is interesting, the way that they'll find anything to complain with. But then, like, you say, well, I wrote a part four, and they're like, nobody wants that. Like, all right, pick your fight.
Right. Well, and like there's so I do think that that is a generational thing, right? Like I
Yes.
do think that there is, you know, a group of fans that are don't want a part four, and
Right.
I would dare I say I'm probably on that. I'm closer to that side of the fence than I am on wanting to see a part four.
Hmm.
It has to be done right. And again,
Yes.
like going back to kind of the some point of our conversation, like I don't trust many people with that. So
Yeah.
it's a really hard thing to say. I want a part four. When we did it, and again, I think I don't know if we talked about this on the Star Wars episode, but we have talked about it. Like finding you on TikTok and then finding you like the clips of your reading. I'm like, we literally talked about this, like a very similar concepts
Yeah.
um at Fan Expo 2025
Mhm.
for the 40th anniversary. I do a bunch of panels at Fan Expo every year since back when it was Wizard World, like since 2016. Since we
Mhm.
started this podcast, I've been doing panels, say for the like COVID year and the year after maybe. And I've done Back to the Future panels twice now, and obviously we did, Back to the Future 40 was big last year, so we did it
Yeah.
for the 40th. And that was like, I did bring up like, let's recast it. Like, who do you cast it with now? And and we talked
Whew.
about that, and then you also talked about like instead of a reboot, like doing a part 4 and like what that looks like. And it was very similar of like, oh, you find Doc's blueprints basically,
Right.
and you know, and it's so I do lean towards some, like, and obviously, you know, talking about yours very specifically, like I think multiverse is obviously the next step. Like you have
Right.
to, a, it's big right now, right? Like that's probably how you help sell that story.
Exactly.
Um, but but also like you've done the time travel thing 3 times.
Right.
Like a part 4 just time travel could be great, and I think it could be great done a certain way. But more or less you're just kind of, even if it's all brand new characters and it's different decades that you're traveling to, you're more or less doing the same thing. So the more interesting thing is to try to find a way to work the multiverse in, which is the one thing we maybe didn't talk about at the panel, but like
Yeah.
everything else was very similar. Like you're not focusing on the legacy characters and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think we maybe even said you stay away from the family as a whole. So we did venture further than you did,
Yeah.
in our hypothetical conversation with the room. But very like, again, very, I said this when I first watched it a couple months ago to you. Like I what I love about what you did with that reading specifically is that it's such a love letter to
Oh.
Back to the Future, which I think is probably like the most important thing to see out of like this version of the project.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, I'd be interested to see what you do with, like, you saying you have like like you want to kind of put it to the side and come back to it and maybe like refine it. I would love to see the refinement of that because I do agree. I
Yeah.
think there's some refinement, and I don't mean that negative. Like I just, as a person who loves Back to the Future, there's just things that I would like to see different,
Yeah, no, and
refined.
that's so real. I mean, like, it didn't dawn on me until what? I mean, we had the reading, everybody loved it, whatever, whatever, humble brag. But I was like, I was driving to Philadelphia and I was like, how can I not have a Huey Lewis cameo at the end of the movie when they're doing Power of Love and he is standing there in the background going, it's still too darn loud or whatever. Like how I was like, how did I miss that? How did I not
Right.
include that? I mean, like, you don't want to be overly corny and like hit every single Easter egg, but I was like, I feel like that's too good. I feel like that's golden.
And well, and you know, it's the fact that like you just mentioned like overly Easter eggy. I think like that's the hard thing to do with a property like this, right? Like
Yes.
we've now seen a couple franchises try to come back, like
Right.
and to varying degrees of success. You know, Star Wars, Indiana Jones,
Mhm.
and Ghostbusters are like the 3 that come to mind right now. And I
Yeah.
think Ghostbusters is the only one to do it right, honestly. And I say
Yeah.
that as a massive Star Wars fan. I don't I'm not a fan of the sequel trilogy, but I also like, they're for kids. Like these movies are for kids at the end of the day. They're just space laser sword story. That's
Right.
literally what they are. So like it doesn't bother me. I'm not, you know, they're not for me. I got my original trilogy. I also lived through the prequel trilogy where people shat on them for years.
Right.
And now they are beloved by a generation of kids, much like the sequel trilogies will likely be one day beloved by a generation of kids.
Yeah.
Those will live on, and there's, anyway, we're getting down a Star Wars rabbit hole that we don't need to go down. I think that like the formula that Force Awakens tried, which was basically let's just do a No Hope all over again, and
Right.
Rey is your Luke, Han is your Obi-Wan. Like they basically did that. And I thought it worked for what it
Yeah.
was, but then as you go further down into the sequel trilogy, it just didn't work for me, I'll say.
Yeah.
Same thing with like Indiana Jones. I liked I
Respectfully. Yeah.
liked Dial of Destiny or whatever it was called.
Mhm.
Obviously, Crystal Skull, not a great good movie, not a great Indiana Jones movie. I'll leave it at
Yeah.
that. I also, again, and now as I've gotten older, I also tend to find very little negative about these things. I tend to look for the positive, and I'll love crappy things. I find the positive in it, but Ghostbusters is the first one that I think like Afterlife and Frozen Empire. I think are 2 very solid entries into
Yeah.
the Ghostbusters franchise that like you don't like, they successfully rebooted that movie while still honoring the past. And
Yeah.
like that to me is the blueprint. Like when you look at something like Back to the Future, if I'm writing it, I'm like looking at like what did Afterlife do well and what did Frozen
Yeah.
Empire do well? What did they do wrong? How do we honor? And again, it's getting harder for Back to the Future because you're not getting Marty McFly, or you're getting a very
Different.
very brief version,
Yeah.
maybe CGI version, maybe you do, bring in the Parkinsons with the character, maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
But you're getting a very different version of Marty. Maybe you're getting Doc, maybe you're not like
Right.
so you're getting to a point where like Back to the Future 4, you do have to build something on its own merit and not
Yeah.
rely on these legacy characters. So it's a very interesting thing to try to do. And I applaud you for doing it because it is something and that I probably like now, like that I'm back into the franchise and like back into like to the point where I saw that you got this guy on at Five Below. I was like, oh, I gotta go get
Yeah.
him. Like I'm like, this is a franchise that I sat down one summer as like a 9-year old and literally watched every movie. I watched one movie a day every
Yeah.
day for the whole summer. So it's a franchise that I loved dearly as a kid
Mhm.
that it turned into like a maybe an annual watch if that and now it's like I've watched it in the last 6 months. I've probably watched at least the first maybe 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Um so and that's partially because of you. Which
Thank you.
which but it's also because like seeing all your stuff about part 4 and like the clips you had posted and then talking to you more, I was like,
Mhm.
I really miss this franchise.
Yeah.
And just like, it's something that I'm more like I'm probably more open to that part 4 now than I was
Yeah.
before. But I'm still like, I think I'm the one that has to do it, which I think a lot of people who love that and hold that franchise dear to the heart feel the same way.
No, 100%, and I mean, that's the whole reason that I wrote it, right? Like, that is the whole I was like,
Mhm.
"I do not want anybody else to, like, do this because what if they miss" like, I mean, granted, I'm not really familiar with the Star Wars sequels or, like, as like, I can't compare the original trilogy to, but I do know when things are done wrong, right? Like how people
Hmm.
feel about it. People are very, opinionated on the internet. And, part of the reason that my platform is the way that it is because I wanted to show people it's like, no, I actually do care about the trilogy and I do care about the source material. I'm not just doing this because, ha ha ha, I thought this would be funny. Like there is a deep appreciation and love of the originals and and I just want to be a part of that world. Like that is kind of just this is my dream role to play Marty McFly's daughter. But I mean, time is of the essence, especially if you want to do it in the way that Ghostbusters did it, right? Like Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Right.
I want Chris Lloyd to be involved. I would love for, Michael J. Fox to be Marty McFly. But then, there's also the question of like, is this the way he wants Marty McFly to show up 40 years later? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
is
Right.
this the way that they see their characters being? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I will never know what Michael J. Fox, well, we have a little bit of an idea with Future Boy, but like I will never know what it felt like in his body to be Marty McFly and to see it blow up and I mean to be at the 40th anniversary and things like that. Like I will never know what that feels like for him. And, whatever that felt like in 1985, 1989 and then I think the 90s is when the third one came out.
Yeah.
But that was a very different like I can only imagine how he felt and I can only imagine looking at it 40 years later, being a dad of himself and, and kind of retiring, but also not retiring. Like, I don't know. I don't know. And at the end of the day, my heart wants to do right by him. My heart wants to do right by Chris Lloyd. My heart wants to do right by the Bobs. Like, I don't do this because I'm like, you guys suck. Like, I do it. I like, I want like, but I do it because it's like, I love it so much. I'm not ready for it to end. I'm not ready to close the book on Marty and Doc. Like there's like an element the third ending, which is great. Like the third movie ending is wonderful, right? Your future hasn't been written yet, so make it a good one. But we don't know what that looks like for them. And so I just would love to be like, hey, they're doing great. here's the kids, and the kids are going to be fine. You know what I mean? Like, we
Right.
are going to continue this movie will continue on for years to come. Like, you know what I mean? It's not just gonna, I don't know. I hope, as long as I'm alive, this movie will not, evaporate. I will keep Back to the Future alive as long as I can, as long as I'm
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well, and I think part of the reason that that franchise is still so beloved today is because it is one of the only franchises that have not been touched by remake or reboot culture.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we live in a world where even Scream, which is only about 30 years old,
Right.
has been also like legacy rebooted.
Yeah.
Uh, dare I say, twice now with Scream 7 abandoning the characters from 5 and 6. Like,
Yeah.
so, even 4 was like a like, so regardless, like we live in this world where like something can't even really live 30 years
Yeah.
without getting a reboot or a remake. And Back to the Future is that one like golden nugget of a
Yeah.
franchise, which is why I think there's like people from like I am older than this franchise, not by
Yeah.
much, but I am older than this franchise. I wasn't old enough to see it in theaters, but
Right.
so so you have the generation of kids like me who, and I grew up watching it probably in the 90s. I don't think I went to the theater to see the second or third one because I probably came out in 89 and 90 just off the
Hmm.
top of my head. So I didn't go to theaters to see that, but that again, they were movies that I watched on VHS. Kids, that's a little box cassette
If you
thing that
remember, yeah.
yeah, that which you know what, I just bought the anniversary edition of Dogma on
Oh.
from Lionsgate for the Steelbook because I'm a big Kevin Smith fan.
Hmm.
Dogma is not my favorite, but it's up there. You know, it's probably my third or fourth favorite Kevin Smith film. So I was like, oh, let me get like this has also been like a movie that was impossible to buy for decades. So let me get it
Yeah.
now while I still can. Um, but they're also selling. There's this horror movie called Cabin Fever,
Okay.
starring Ryder Strong, Sean Hunter from Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
Uh, they're doing a anniversary edition on VHS, and I'm like, that is fucking gold. Like that is amazing that they are releasing a VHS in
In
2026.
2025? Yeah, 2026, right. Oh my God. Yeah, no, that's insane. And I feel like, I don't know, there is that nostalgia coming back. Like, it's
Mhm.
funny, you see records at Target. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh,
Like,
everywhere. I mean, even me, who's not a music guy, like I bought a record player, and I have my Philly Specials vinyl
yeah,
collection because, of course, why wouldn't
of
I? That's probably
course.
the reason I actually got the record player was for those Philly Specials,
Period.
Christmas albums. And then, but I also have I think actually I think the first one I actually bought was Back to the Future soundtrack
Yeah.
on vinyl, which is actually harkens back to the very first cassette tape I bought. Was the Back to the Future soundtrack on cassette?
Oh my
Played that
God.
thing until it wore out.
Yeah.
Because again, I don't really listen to music unless it's from a movie.
Period.
Uh, so, but yeah, I mean, so again, like that as someone who probably knows less about Back to the Future than you, because I just have been out of it for so long. It
Yeah.
was like my first love of movies and even music was like this
Yeah.
franchise was my trilogy and is it probably is my trilogy to this day. Like if like everyone had like Star Wars or Indiana Jones or whatever, I guess Lord of the Rings now is
Right.
old enough to be someone's trilogy. For me, because I
Mhm.
I grew up in between the two eras of Star Wars, you know, this is my trilogy. I grew up with Back to the Future, literally. Like
Yeah.
I'm just slightly older. So this was my trilogy for the longest time, and then the world exploded with comic book movies and stuff, and I kind of fell away for a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh but yeah, it's a fun franchise, and it's a fun idea to talk about like a fourth story. And again, like I think your generation and younger is probably more open to a fourth or even a remake because a and maybe not you and your age group specifically, but definitely younger. Like you live in a reboot remake culture, whereas I don't come from that, which is why probably maybe why I gravitate towards creating my own IP because I'm like I'll
Yeah.
just make my own stuff.
No, that's real.
But
And yeah. No, I mean, I'll be quite honest with you. The Disney adaptations piss me off so much. Like, I cannot
mhm,
stand the live action Disney. Like, when you were just redoing the same exact story and you make a 2% change, like I can't, like, either do it or don't, like, and I kind of feel that way about movie musicals too, right? Like Wicked Part 1 was perfect. I could no notes, no complaints about Wicked Part 1. Wicked Part 2, I was like, why are we changing? Why are we adding two songs? Why? I don't care. And I understand that they had to, make some adjustments and whatever for, I don't know, runtime sake, but it's just like, I don't know. If you already have the thing and the thing is perfect, why fix what's not broken, right? And I think a lot of people feel that way about Back to the Future. No
Mhm.
offense, Tom Holland's great and he's talented, but I do not care to see Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. as Doc and Marty. Like, I'm good.
It's funny because that is probably like the answer we got the most at the panel. It's
Mhm.
probably even what I suggested because it is the most logical
Right.
combo, at least of 2025. Now, if you were to ask me that question today, so let's go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I was watching something came up today on one of my social media feeds. I think it's a clip from a documentary or behind the scenes thing from Back to the Future where Michael J. Fox is talking about his shooting schedule going back and
Oh my
forth
God.
between Family Ties and that. And like when you're seeing at first it didn't sound like him. I'm like, that sounds like that sounds like Joe Carey. Like I literally
Mhm.
was like, that's who it was. And I was like, oh my God, that's who I'd pick as Marty. Today's Marty McFly, if you were to remake the movie
Yeah.
completely, I think I'd go Joe Carey.
Oh,
Um,
100%. I mean,
like
I would.
he yeah, well, you're
I'm in love. Anyway,
you've seen if anyone follows you on TikTok,
I've been
you've talked
bitten.
about him, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but and ironically, he's all over my feed too. And I'm not. I mean, listen, very attractive male, but
Come on
again,
now.
cisgender white dude. So I don't know why he's all over my feed, except for the fact Stranger Things, I
He's
guess.
like taking over. I don't get it, but I'm not, no complaints.
But that's like like, if you look at him in Stranger Things,
Yeah.
like he's got that Marty look a little bit. Uh,
He had the Alex P. Keaton, like he was cleaned
yeah.
up. He was, yeah, very similar to Michael J. Fox. Interesting. Hey, Joe Curie.
Who who's your Doc Brown if you remake the movie?
Okay, we're assuming Joe Curie is Marty
Yeah, yeah,
McFly.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, geez. Well, not Roger Bart. I'll tell you that first and foremost. Sorry, Roger Bart. I gotta kick you out of the club. I think it would be interesting. What if it was Harrison Ford? Wait a minute.
Oh my god.
Is that
God,
too
that
intense? I feel like
grumpy old man.
right. Yeah, that's kind of like the different, yeah, opposite vibe of
I
what we're
think
going
the
for.
issue with Harrison Ford is that he is just so old now. Like
Yeah.
he is, and I listen. I love Harrison Ford. He's probably, you know, as much as Back to the Future is my trilogy, Harrison Ford is probably the guy that I like wanted to see all the movies of when I was a kid because I loved Indiana Jones and Star Wars and Air
Yeah.
Force One and like I loved all those movies as a kid. Yeah, weird. I was watching Air Force One as a kid. Whatever. I had a weird palate, but um yeah, I think he's a little too old now
Yeah.
but not a terrible like, I could see it work, like, if he was maybe 20 years younger, I think it would
Yeah.
work.
I'm trying to think of like SNL alumni that would probably be of age to do
Oh,
it. Like
that's
could you
good.
imagine Adam Sandler? Marty, we got to do
Oh my
things.
god.
Yeah, like no thanks.
I
No.
honestly hate that.
Me too. Yeah, no, no, no. Sorry, Adam, you did not get the job. Maybe Will Ferrell. Maybe.
Will Ferrell, that's who I was thinking, it's an interesting choice. Again, it's and I guess Christopher Lloyd was also kind of a comedic actor at the time, like, I mean, honestly, I don't I haven't watched a lot of Christopher Lloyd movies. Like it's been
Yeah.
Back to the Future, it's been Roger Rabbit, and then like Taxi are like the
Mhm.
things that I've watched. And I'm sure there's other things I've watched with him in it, but nothing like I never really went out of my way to watch Christopher Lloyd movies. Not that I didn't like him, I just didn't gravitate towards it.
Yeah, I mean,
Um
he was more of a stage actor too, so that
yeah,
also plays into his performance. I think that would, leans a little differently, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like I don't have a great answer for Doc Brown because I don't really I'm in this era of my life where I'm more of a content creator. So I haven't
Yeah.
like the last 6 months I haven't been really like consuming. Like I like honestly like right off the bat, I would only because I've probably watched more Stranger Things than anything else. Maybe David Harbour, but like even it like that's he's not eccentric enough, I guess.
Yeah.
Um
I don't
I know you
know.
need someone that can do mad scientist real well.
Well,
Um,
and it's also like, I hate to say it, and this is a conversation that I feel like I've had with a couple people, but like Doc Brown in a 2025 would not land the same. You know what I mean? Like
well,
that kind of character, unfortunately, does not
I
land the
think you
same.
I think you also have to like cast him much like it can't be a 65-year-old man.
Right.
Like who actually is not a bad choice that I think could do it well is Paul Rudd. I think Paul Rudd could do
Oh
it well.
yeah.
He
He
I
would.
mean he at least looks young. He's shockingly in his 50s, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
But he looks younger. He can play younger. You could also like. I think the story has to be more, less eccentric old man with a young boy as a
Teenage,
partner, and
yeah.
like, oh, like I'm your teacher, I'm your professor, and you're my student, and
Right.
you do help me like like we have formed a relationship in school that's totally appropriate,
Yeah.
and
Nothing
which
weird
is
going on here.
right,
Yeah.
which is like another crazy like it's this was something we talked about at the panel. I was like, I brought this up. I was like, this is something that you cannot do in 2025 because a very old man hanging out with a teenage boy would be flagged right away.
Oh my
Like
god.
in a post Sandusky world, like
Don't I
not
know it?
does not fly. Like
No, right. Well, and it's like, it's interesting. I mean, to kind of, view Back to the Future from a 2025 lens or 2026 lens. I can't remember what year it is. But
yeah, I know.
um, these younger kids, like, I don't know if fan fiction was a thing back then. I do not know if like kids would go home and draw images of Marty and Dot. Like I don't know if fan art was really a thing. Like, it's definitely different now, right? Like fan
Right.
art and fan fiction are now like public works, like, people post them online for you to see. And like, I mean, you'll see pictures of Marty McFly and Doc Brown like spooning in bed, and and there are kids out there that want them to be a thing, and it's just like, who, like, did anybody in the 80s think this? And if they did, why? Like, why are we? What happened? Like, what
Yeah,
happened?
it's interesting to think about because the short answer it had to exist in some fashion, right?
Yeah,
Like
I guess.
zines were a thing back then. At least I
Right,
think they were. And that's I think kind of where you saw that stuff. It was all very localized, or it was just
right.
kept private. The age of the internet has allowed all this
Allow people to
wild
get their
things.
sick thoughts out. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
which is wild. But that's also, I think, part of like God. The I've now seen 2 errors of ships that have driven me crazy. I used to watch Once Upon a Time,
Hmm.
the ABC fairy tale show, and I remember I was very close with the creators of like the parody YouTube series that they did that turned into Oh at the Rock Opera. Um like I was loosely involved with like the production of that, and we did a live show in New York like just off Broadway for New York Comic Con.
Hell
We did a
yeah.
screening of it, and then we did a live podcast of it. Um, and talking like the guy that played Hook, Ace, did something on Instagram, said something about either Swan Queen or I forget the Emma Hook name,
Hmm.
but said something, and it was really like it was like a joke, but and then I commented on it as well, but we were joking about the Swan Queen thing, and then we got ripped apart by the fan base, and I'm like we were texting or doing the podcast. I was like, what just happened? Like
Yeah.
we were just having fun. What's going on? And
Right.
and then I forgot about it for years because like I don't do ships. Like I'm not that much of a fan of anything to be like I ship. Da, 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 da.
Right. Right.
Um except for,
Like
I
a
guess maybe
normal
Ross.
person. Yeah.
Right, maybe Ross and Rachel, but again, like a normal person.
Yeah. Yeah.
I watched Friends as a young child
Right.
and I shipped Ross and Rachel like a normal person does. But now with Stranger Things, you had the Byler ship and people
Oh
were going
God.
crazy about that. And I didn't even enter that space. I was like, you've learned your lesson, Kev. You're not gonna comment on anything.
Well, yeah, and it's like, I mean, Stranger Things, boy howdy, like, dropping signs everywhere, but being like, nothing's a sign, nothing means anything. And it's like, okay, that can't be true. And it's like, people were looking, like people really did their research to make fair arguments for these
Right.
relationships. But it's like, why? Like, I mean, I get representation and I get that, but it's like, I don't know. Could have been
I,
held,
I
I don't know.
I think you could easily find clips of any two characters and make a relationship out of them.
Right. I mean, put some
Like,
background music in that,
right.
makes them, I don't know. Right. I mean, I've seen on TikTok, people are shipping characters from different movies. Like the big one was Regina George from Mean Girls and Roderick Heffley from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I can't even explain it. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, no. And like, listen, I actually loved the representation that they did have. Like, I love that scene with
Yeah.
Will.
I thought
Like,
it was beautiful.
I literally, I wholeheartedly admit I'm a crier. Like, I cried at
Yeah.
Kermit the Frog giving a speech in the Muppet movie with the like the rebooted one with
Yeah.
Jason Segel or whatever,
Yeah.
and like he gave a speech about friendship, and
We can
I
still do
cried
it.
during. Right,
Yeah.
like I cried during it. I admit to it. But like Stranger Things was never that show for me. Like I have watched this
No.
from the beginning. I don't want to call myself a super fan. I never rewatched anything. Generally enjoy the show for what it is and what it was
Yes.
presented as. And um but like that scene, I was like watching it and I was like, I literally cried. Like it was such a heartwarming, touching scene.
Yeah.
Like, not that I can relate to it. Like I've been a kid in the 80s, but I wasn't a teenager in the 80s. I've
Yeah.
never been a teenager in the closet. So like I can't relate to it on any level other than being a human being and seeing someone like being afraid he's going to lose every like relationship he has, like
Oh
every
my
friendship,
God.
every family relationship. So like it was such a heartbreaking scene and like I understood why it went on for so long. Like to me it made sense. And
Yeah.
like
It
everyone's
was
shitting on it. I'm
poetic.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
and like everyone's shitting on it. I was like, have any of you ever been gay in the 80s? Like
Right.
I feel like it should. It
Right.
should like he's explaining why it's taking so long because it's a fear of his.
No, but
What
you
are
know
we
what's
doing?
funny? You would like someone would make a video and write and like you would be like, "Have none of you been gay in the 80s?" And you'd get a response. It's like, "I'm 14." Like, okay. Like, right. Sorry. I wasn't I'm so sorry. Yeah. No, it's really interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I cried a lot during the final season of Stranger Things, like especially with Holly and when Max was like, "I have to go. You'll be fine. I have to go." But I was like sobbing. I was like, "No, don't make her do it." Yeah.
That scene was admittedly a little silly. With like, let's have this full blown conversation.
Well,
But like,
yes.
I also don't care. Like, it's all that, like, whatever. Like, I love dialogue. I love people talking with one. Like, so like all that like
Yeah.
just sits with me anyway. So like, I don't really care. But like,
Well,
I could see if you're gonna make an argument about Stranger Things, like that's a valid one. It is
yeah.
your window is closing and you're sitting there having a conversation. So, but like there were, I don't know, even like the the secret ninth episode was such a fun thing that
I can't
like
think about it. Yeah, it stresses me out.
I
Yeah.
was so like, you people are all crazy. And then at some point I'm like,
What
this
if they're
might be a
right?
thing.
Right,
Like
that's what I'm saying. Like, I was like, "No way. Wait a minute."
I got to the point where I was like, this this is the greatest thing that Duffer Brothers could pull off if they actually did this. Like if they had a secret ninth episode. And
It would have
like
been awesome. It would have been one of the coolest things, I think, for our, I don't know, pop culture to have
yeah,
happened. Like, that would have been awesome.
it is I mean something that I don't think has ever been done before, and it's something that like now it will have someone will do it now at some
Right.
point and probably not execute it as well as this could have been
Right?
executed. and like I say this as being someone that was happy with the ending of Stranger Things. Like I don't have any problems with it, but I
Yeah.
also respect if you do. Like whatever. Like it does. I don't. I've closed that book. I
Yes.
literally Stranger Things is done for me. So I don't. I'm not.
We're over
I
it.
right. I'm also again. I'm not the super fan that was super. I was probably most invested in season 5 here than I ever was.
Mm.
Um, but that's because I knew it was coming to an end. Like
Yeah.
I was never I don't know. I loved it for what it was because it was it's horror, it's sci-fi, it takes place in the 80s. It's all these fucking things I love. Like the only
Yeah.
thing that would make it better is if it was set in the 90s because I'm more of a 90s guy. I want to see a Kevin Smith cameo. That's what I
Yeah.
want. But like that's which is why completely off topic. I loved that 90s show on
Oh,
Netflix.
yeah.
That 90s show because there was Clerks references and him and Jay Muse were in it as Cheech and Chong's kid.
Oh my god.
Cheech and Chong weren't both in it. One of them,
Yeah.
I think Chong, was the weed guy from that 70s show, and his kid was Kevin Smith.
Oh my
And
god.
so like I I will forever be mad at Netflix for not renewing it for another season because I just wanted more. I
Yeah.
I grew up on sitcoms. Like I grew up like that's also I also like hate the streaming world where like we just release everything in one day.
Dude,
Like
tell me about it.
I love appointment TV. Like it's
Appointment that's brilliant. I love that.
I don't take credit for that. That is out
Someone said
there.
it
I'm
one
stealing it.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
somebody. Yeah, maybe. I know. I've heard it elsewhere. But yeah,
Okay.
I love appointment TV. Like that's I grew up on it. I don't
Yeah.
and I think we're going back to it. Like you see a lot of these streamers maybe dropping 2 or 3 episodes at once and then
Yeah.
going weekly, or in the case of Stranger Things, doing some wacky 3-volume release.
Well, it's like I also think it's overwhelming, right, for people because like you want to watch it and you want to be in the know, right? Like there are people that that would watch the whole season in one day and if you didn't, now you have to catch up and now you have to we're so online that like everybody's spoiling everything. So I think people are like, okay, let's slow down because this is crazy.
It's also terrible like marketing,
Oh,
really.
100%.
Like releasing it week to week, then water cooler talk. Like everyone can
Mhm.
talk about it every week. You're trending or whatever on social
Right.
media every week because people are talking about it every week. So it's
Yeah.
crazy to me that there is still and like it seems like it's going back towards week to week releases with certain shows that are like, oh, this isn't going to be popular, so let's just drop it all at once.
Yeah.
Is seems to be the trend these days.
But then it's like they pick up and then all of a sudden they're like, "Okay, so we're renewed until season 18." And
Yeah,
it's like, "Okay,
which
cool."
which you can only do if you're doing like 8 to 10 episode seasons, which I'm all about. I love
Keep it short.
British television. Yeah, like 22 episodes a season's never as an adult has never made sense because you can see like, oh, this is a filler episode. And sometimes filler episodes are good because it's world building. I love world building.
Yeah.
Sometimes filler episodes are bad because it's just shitty. Like you're
Right.
in a 22 episode season, you're probably getting 15 good episodes, maybe
Right.
18 if you're lucky. And for me, you're probably getting more than that because again, I'm Mr. Positive. I usually find something I like. If it's I'm all about A to B. Does A and B
Yeah.
get me there? That's all I need. I don't need it to be perfect acting. I don't need it to be I love Clerks. Not great writing. His first movie. Not a great like the writing is not great acting. Like they're all
Yeah.
theater kids who are like making a movie. Nothing against theater kids, but they're literally all first-time actors. Like they're
Right.
all like trying to make this movie on a shoestring budget. So like
Period.
so like but it to me it is the classic indie flick
Yeah.
that inspires you and oddly enough I went to a screening of a what I thought was an improv show was a screening of a movie. So I was wearing like a hoodie and basketball no, I was wearing khaki shorts. I was a little
Ooh.
dressed up. But Mike also thought it was a comedy show, but there were people there in tuxes and I was like, feel
Oh.
really underdressed, Mike. This is not a comedy show. This is
Damn.
not what you said it was. And it was like a screening for it was called The Conspiracists, a comedy mockumentary.
Oh, I love.
On yeah,
I've never
shot
seen it. I've never
locally
seen
in
it, but I love the sound of it.
It was shot locally in Delaware, and
Period.
um I walked away from it like that's also like what got me back on my like, oh, I can make a movie kick, because like if that
Yeah.
counts, and again, nothing against that, it was done very well. I enjoyed it. Probably wouldn't have gone to see it myself, if not going to this thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I enjoyed it, and I was like, if this counts, again, not in a negative way, but if this counts,
No, that's right. I mean, like, literally, I did a reading of this play, and this guy, like, everyone was like, "Oh my god, he's a playwright, and and he writes plays and blah blah blah." And it, like, my brain was like, "Oh my god, this is like the real deal." And then we're at this reading, and I'm like, "Oh my god, this script sucks." Like, you know what I mean? Like,
mhm,
it's like this is awful. And then I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. If he's gone out and about being so proud about being a playwright, I'm a playwright then. Like, I can be this, I can do that." And I think it's funny, like, you need those experiences to really attack at your imposter
mhm,
syndrome because, when you're sitting there comparing, the script that you wrote to, I don't know, freaking Citizen Kane, like, yeah, of course it's gonna suck. But, there are other people who don't care to compare their stuff to Citizen Kane or compare their stuff to anything else. And it's like, oh yeah, like it is. Like I could do this too. Like if at the end of the day, it doesn't seem too
yeah.
hard.
No, and like, and my buddy Mike knew like a little bit about behind the scenes, because the guy that invited us or told us about it, like he produced it, but he also like went to acting school with Mike,
Mm,
and they, I guess, worked together on a couple projects. And the main reason we went was to like, oh, he seems like a fun dude that would fit in well with what we're trying to do with like our version of Dropout TV.
mhm.
I'm being very nonchalant about it because I'm not ready for it to be out there yet,
We're not
because
ready yet.
it's a lot of work. Like we have like months of work to even get it launched.
Yeah.
Anyway, so but like he would be a fun to play with. Like he would like, if improv or whatever like we're trying to do, he would be a
Yeah.
fun person. So that's why we went out to it, was for me to chat with him a little bit. Which didn't happen because it wasn't a comedy show. It was
Mm,
a screening that I walked away better for it, because it's now I know that like, oh, that like, and it's because me and Mike have always said, if we're gonna do something, let's do it right and make sure we have the money and the budget for it. And
yeah.
I walked out of there and I was like, buddy, that proves to me we don't need it. like
Yeah.
and again, I don't I loved that film for what it was. So I don't mean to say this negatively at all, but like, we shot a staff meeting video that we had to do for our day job,
Mhm.
and the dare I say, it was just as good, if not like produced and written just as well, if not better.
Oh my
Definitely
god.
audio was better. Like, and I again, I'm not a very technical guy, so like, even I've been podcasting for decades. This, it sounds good to my ears. That's all that matters. I don't have like I'm tone deaf, so like whatever. It sounds good. It passes my ears. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
Like I can hear when like, oh, this is clean versus this isn't clean. So I was like, if literally that counts, then we don't need a budget, man. Like we can figure it out.
No.
Yeah. So
Nothing is more validating than seeing something and being like,
mhm,
"I can do that."
yeah,
Do
one
you know what I
hundred
mean?
percent.
Wait a
And
minute.
like, yeah, 100%. Like that's been like, that was very, and I think we saw that in the very beginning of 2026. So like that was very inspiring to be like, okay, like now I kind of know my focus of 2026. Like
Yeah.
it's outside of podcasting. Like I know I want to do like this in podcasting, and I want to do this in Philadelphia, and I want to do this in like finally making my movie,
Hell yeah.
or at least starting that process. So yeah, it is weird where you see the inspiration from
Oh my gosh.
sometimes. So all right, so we've been talking for quite a while, and you see very little Back to the Future. Welcome to the mid roll. 10 years of awesome, man. 10 years. That's amazing. 2016 was a huge year for me, both good and bad. Creatively, it was probably one of my best years to date. And because of that, I actually hope that 2026 matches or exceeds that, because of all the different 10-year anniversaries we're going to have. I'm hoping to capitalize on that. And it also was the year that we lost my uncle to cancer. So, personally, it was probably one of my worst years personally. But 2016 saw the launch of Everything is Awesome. It saw our very first live show for the Philadelphia Podcast Festival. It saw us do a live show at New York Comic Con, crossed over with Once Upon a Wine during a screening of Once Upon a Time, the rock opera. It saw us do our first solo live show outside of that at Bridge That Sound on South Street. And I saw my production of Once Upon a Wine. I was the producer for that podcast. I saw them launch a Christmas album called Christmas Magic. And, I think there's other things that are sprinkled in there that I'm forgetting right now, but, a big year creatively for me. And then also in January, my uncle's diagnosed with cancer, goes into remission in June. And then in August, the day before I'm supposed to do my live show at the Philadelphia Podcast Festival, we find out that it's coming back aggressively. And then by the time we, between the New York Comic Con show and the Bridge That Sound show, my uncle gets worse and worse and eventually passes away. What a bummer. I'm sorry to bring a bummer down on this, but that's explaining why 2016 was such a big year for me and why 2026 is now going to be a big year. So I'm walking into this year, with a lot of emotions because it's going to be the first anniversary of my dad passing away. It's the 10-year anniversary of this show and so many other things that I've done creatively. And it'll also be the 10-year anniversary of losing my uncle. So there's, 2 negative anniversaries that I'm going to have to be dealing with this year, but a lot of positive. And I'm hoping to kind of use all of that. It's something that I learned over the last, since I lost my dad is that I need something like this. I need creativity to be my medicine for depression and for grief and stuff like that, because I just am not good with pills, to be honest. So, I'm hoping that we capitalize on all these different 10-year anniversary marks for my creative stuff in a way that will really help, just me grieve and whatnot. Anyway, so there will be, as we go on throughout the year, you'll hear more and more about these different projects and different anniversaries that we'll be doing to celebrate 10 years of this and that. You might hear, we're also going to be doing some credits at the end of this, and you might hear some links for newsletters and Patreons and stuff like that. I don't even know if they're going to be fully launched at this point. They just might be set up. But we have a big podcasting goal this year of launching a fully produced actual play. We're actually going to probably launch 2. One's going to be a solo one that's going to be very zero budget. I'm going to be doing that on my own, obviously, solo role-playing game. But there is a group I have in mind that I want to bring together to do a fully produced with a budget actual play podcast. We'll probably be doing something of a smaller sample size to generate buzz for it before we fully launch a first season. But even if we can get that smaller sample size produced and released this year, that will be a huge win for me. And so that's where things like the Patreon and the newsletter will help generate buzz and generate, the actual budget to put those things together. So keep your eyes and ears out for that. If you're a fan of this, if you're a fan of actual play, as you get to learn more about what we're trying to do, we would obviously appreciate your support. That being said, that's nothing that we have to worry about today because nothing's fully launched today. Today, I just want you to sit back, finish this conversation I had with Taylor, and let's just enjoy the ride of the 10-year anniversary of Everything Is Awesome. One last thing before I let you all go back to that conversation is thank you to every listener that has listened to this show, whether you're a longtime listener, whether you're a on and off listener, whether you're a brand new listener today. Thank you. And I hope you join us and you stay with us as a listener if you're just joining us today. But thank you guys for listening. Obviously, that's a huge part of why we do this. But even a bigger part of why we do this is me sitting down and talking to new and interesting people almost every week. Every guest, thank you so much for being part of this show over the last 10 years. What I really love about Everything is Awesome is that it's, yes, we do the deep dive on a person and what they do. Yes, we do like the serious, like mental health and political activism conversations sometimes. But you know what? A lot of other comedy shows do the deep dive conversations with their guests, and you know, I don't think there's anyone better than Michael Rosenbaum from the Inside of You podcast that does like the deep dive conversations with their guests that gets to like the mental health aspect of it. I don't think anyone does it better than him. We touch on it absolutely, but he does it the best. I don't know of many, and maybe I don't listen to them, and maybe they just don't hit my radar. But there's not many interview shows that feel like you're sitting in on a conversation that would be happening at a bar or a restaurant. That's what I love about this show is that what it is yes, we might do a deep dive on the person and their craft or on an important topic that's affecting society. But oftentimes we just have like a random, like we'll have a 30 to 60-minute conversation about Back to the Future or whatever happens in the conversation. And it's literally like I sat down to have a drink or to have dinner with my guest. And that is the conversation we would have had, whether there was a microphone or not in front of us. And I really love that about this show. And I'm really grateful for every guest that has come on to have that conversation with me. And just a few people I'm going to shout out specifically because they have always been willing to jump and do any of these silly things that I've had, you know, whether it's live shows, whether it's live actual play shows that we've done for big celebrations, whether it's actual plays recorded in the studio for celebrations, panels, you name it, any kind of wild idea I've had. People like Mike D'Angelo, Garrett Smith, always they're like my two go-to people for this kind of stuff, and they are usually almost always down unless they have something that's literally on their calendar already and they can't do it. And then you have Jeff Stormer and honestly even today's guest Taylor Kellar. Both of them, you know, Jeff always is willing to jump in to do either a regular recording or do a panel or to help run actual plays. And then Taylor just, you know, in the last like 3 or 4 months, like was like, yes, you want me to come do your 200th episode? Absolutely. Yes, you want me to do your 10-year anniversary? Absolutely. Oh, you want to release a Life Day special for Christmas in 3 days? Absolutely, I will help you with that. And those are the kind of people that like I really love surrounding myself with because I know that we can create some really cool things because we have people that are really ecstatic about being creative first and foremost. So, yes, thank you to every single guest that's ever been on this show. Thank you to every single listener that's ever listened to this show. And Mike, Garrett, Jeff, Taylor, off the top of my head, I'm sure there might be others. Mike from Doom Thugs, a couple other people that I'm having a brain fart right now that are always willing to jump on and help do some silly crap. Thank you guys so much. With that being said, hopefully I didn't keep you here too long in the mid-roll. These mid-rolls will be shorter in the future. It's the 10-year anniversary of Everything is Awesome. So shoot me. Let's get back to our conversation with Taylor right here, only on awesomepodcast.com. Through editing magic, nothing happened, I think. And future Kev's problem, not mine.
There we go.
Completely forgot where we left off because we also had a side conversation in between the edit that you probably saw. So, I am going to bring it back to, as we wrap up here, Back to the Future just briefly, because the one thing that we talked about 10 years ago was like, I think initially I was on the side of like, oh, I do think that 3 is bad. But since like rewatching the series, I do enjoy all 3 of them. Like they're like, obviously 1 is the best, but like I do. And Garrett was also team like 3 is actually really good. And he's like a cinephile. So he's like, here's why it is good. What's your
Yeah.
opinion on the trilogy?
Um, I'll say part 3 is good, but, like, it's a different tone, right? Like, it's a different, than what we're used to. It's not so I feel like I mean, I can't even say that number 1 is really science fiction-y, but it is. I mean, that's when we're introduced to the DeLorean, and then part 2 is like, "Oh, now we're actually going to the future, so here's all of this exciting future technology that doesn't exist." Part 3 is like, you know, kind of a hard left, but it's not bad. Like, it's just
Hmm.
it's a very different tone, and it's very interesting to me to think, like, of all places, that's where Doc would go. Doc wants to be a cowboy. Like, okay,
But it
Um,
totally makes sense if you think about going back to whenever his birthday is, like,
right.
thinking about his age, and it's like he grew up in the era of Westerns, like, that totally checks out to me.
Yeah, I guess that's right. Yeah, I mean, it's not my
Um,
favorite movie by any means, but I don't know, I still love it. Like, I still have a soft spot in my heart for it,
yeah,
and I
I mean,
love it.
and again, I do I think I so obviously as a kid I loved it, and then as I got older, I was like, it's obvious, like it's the third one, it's not as good. But then
Right.
as I've gotten older, I've kind of turned around on it again, and obviously I think the second and third one to me are just as good, like they're equals.
Yeah.
Neither of them as good as the first one.
No.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, because the name of so when Garrett and I did the first episodes of Everything Is Awesome,
Mhm.
we talked for like 3 hours or something. So I broke it into 2 episodes, and what at one point he brought up his favorite quote from the movie,
Okay.
which is from 2, and it's Griff when he says, "Since when did you become the physical type?" And he did it in Griff's voice, because, and I'm not going to do it because if you can't hear, my throat's real dry and I'm out of water, so I can't do that like weird voice that Griff has.
Uh-huh.
But and that is a very good line. I think I know what your favorite line is. I think you said it earlier in this episode. But what is your favorite line from the movie?
Oh, my favorite line. I think it might have to be, um, I mean, when Marty looks at George in the backyard and George is, being like, "How do you expect me to go and, you know, be there with Lorraine and like as you're, whatever." And Marty goes, "You just need some self-confidence. If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything." And I think about that quote every day. I mean, I
Oh wow.
really yeah, that is my favorite quote.
Not the one I was thinking. I thought you were gonna say.
Your future
Uh,
hasn't been written yet.
yes, yeah, that's what
That's
I
also
thought
a
you were
good
gonna
one.
say. Yeah.
Although my
Uh,
favorite moment of all is when George goes up to Lorraine and says, "I'm your density." Like that is my favorite moment for sure.
yeah, that's. I mean, that first movie has a lot of good moments.
Yeah.
I don't. I am so, and this could come from all the concussions I had during wrestling. I This is a movie trilogy that I should be able to quote word for word because I watched it so often as a kid,
Oh my god.
but I can't. And so, like, I actually like, even though I just rewatched it recently, like, I still couldn't tell you my favorite quote just because I'm bad with it. Um, but favorite moment of the movies. I honestly, and again, this is wild because I don't think it's the strongest movie, but it's the train scene in 3.
With the DeLorean. Yeah.
Well, and very specifically when Clara gets on the train.
Yeah.
Um, all right, we're gonna have an edit point right here because I
Okay.
just lost my voice. Give me 1 second.
No worries.
Tried to power through it.
I hate when that happens and it's like, "Oh, great."
Oh my god. You would think that after nearly this is going to be my 19th year podcasting in July. I don't keep water nearby at all. Um, anyway, this is going to be a fun one to edit. It wouldn't be 10 years if it wasn't.
Right.
Yeah, no, very specifically that scene where Clara is there and he gets the hoverboard out to save
Yeah.
that is, I think it's probably one of the biggest action scenes of the franchise. Maybe.
Yeah, probably. I mean, unless you
Uh,
count I mean, it's definitely the most technically advanced, I'd say. Like, just in terms of, like you have the hoverboard next to, the train, the locomotive. Like that's, I don't know. I don't know any other movie to like really combine technology, if that makes
Right,
sense.
right. The other probably big action one is the Almanac uh,
Oh
tunnel
yeah.
scene. The tunnel scene's probably a big one.
Yeah. And
Oh my
also, I
god.
mean, I love the manure chase too. I mean, that's probably not the right name of the scene, but like, Marty basically inventing the skateboard and also
Yeah.
Marty taking rock and roll. Anyway, that's a that's a whole other conversation. But no, yeah, that's also pretty intense. They don't really stray away from the intensity of the stunts. Like, I mean, granted, they're a little fabricated, but I do appreciate like it's always nice to see Marty McFly win, I guess, is what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
for sure. All right. Because I'm literally dying.
Dying.
Not literally dying. Let's not put that out there. Though that would be a way to kick off 10 years of everything is awesome. 10
Kevin
years
died.
of awesome. Kev dies. Oh my god. Anyway, so as that we didn't talk Back to the Future the whole time because
No.
like as I said at the top of the show, you are more than Back to the Future girl on TikTok.
I'm every
Despite
woman.
what your TikTok followers think.
Right. Thank you.
But it was awesome to have you here. Obviously, we talked kind of in between our cut scenes here that we'll have to have you back on and maybe just go full nerd out on Back to the Future.
Yeah, I would love.
If you're still in Philadelphia during a fan expo and you're available, I'll have to try to create some sort of panel to have you on
Oh
because
my god, I would love.
I love sometimes having new folks on panels is always fun because you get different points of views
Mm-hmm.
and also just I don't know, I enjoy talking with you, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I enjoyed talking with you. Thank you.
Yes, so thank you for being part of the 10th anniversary of Everything is Awesome. Yeah, it's crazy to think about. This is out of the 19 years I've been podcasting, I haven't done this 10 years straight because mental health is a real struggle.
Boy, howdy.
And sometimes I think there was a whole year we didn't release episodes. So I haven't done it 10 years straight, but it's still the 10th anniversary. And we're hoping to do a live show sometime this year. So that's part of the whole 10th anniversary thing is I want to get back to live podcasting. But anyway, that has nothing to do with anything other than it's been 10 years of Everything is Awesome. More importantly, where can people find you, Taylor?
Yeah, you can find me primarily on Instagram at Taylor Kellar, Kellar spelled Kellar, and I am also on TikTok as Tooby Loober, TOOBYLOOBR, and that's where I'm usually at.
If anyone remembers the spelling of it, bravo. But the links will be in the show notes.
Oh, amazing. Great.
Again, thank you so much for being part of this. Thank you for dealing with my choking hazard that I just had. You know what? I'm surprised I lasted as long as I did. Maybe coffee was a bad choice tonight. I don't know.
Thank you once again to Taylor for hopping on Everything is Awesome and spending the better part of an hour and a half sitting down and chatting with us. It was an amazing conversation. I genuinely enjoy Taylor as a human being. I think she's a great person. I think she's a great actor. I'm really excited to see what she goes and does when she goes out to LA again. As a Philadelphia homer, I am sad to see you leave the area. I'm sad to see Philadelphia lose yet another creative. But you know what? I'm very happy that you have a dream that you want to go and whether it's LA or New York or somewhere else. I'm glad you're not letting the naysayers prevent you from doing it. I'm glad that you're doing it. I'm glad that there are people you've talked to that actually helped you versus saying, no, it's a bad idea. And just know, Taylor, that you have Everything is Awesome in your corner as you go and do this big move. I'm excited for you and can't wait to see what comes of it for you. I also don't know that this is the last time we'll see Taylor on Everything Is Awesome. I really do hope that we can get her on the show again and have more conversations about, her craft, about whatever happens in pop culture, whatever conversation pops up. And despite her leaving the Philadelphia area, I do hope that we have more opportunities to collaborate with one another, because she's another person like Mike Garrett, like just another person that I have met through this show, and is like just a creative force that enjoys doing creative things, and is like willing to do things that she's not necessarily comfortable with or familiar with. And that, I think, makes like the best magic creatively, so to say. So all in the show notes, all everywhere you can find Taylor and whatnot will be down in the show notes. I know we mentioned TikTok. Spoilers, it's a dumpster fire over there. So a lot of people like Taylor, like myself, have jumped ship from TikTok. That being said, there are still places you can find her, and those links will be in the show notes. And again, Taylor, thank you for hopping on the show. We got some exciting guests coming up in the next few weeks here. We got Ami Khan, Shannon Brown, and Casey Spivey, to name a few. We also are going to be doing some, I've mentioned we're going to be doing some different things here and there. We should be, I don't know if it's going to be in February or March, but we're going to be doing a little test run of a solo role-playing game that I was asked to review. So that's all on the horizon. Obviously, as we get closer to other things that we want to do, we'll be dropping that information either in newsletters. So make sure you sign up for our newsletter in the show notes. We are going to be trying to fund some things through different outlets. So anywhere that we have to fund, like a Patreon, will also be in the show notes. We have to revamp that as of today's recording, so it's not really ready to go. But man, I'm just thank you all once again for being here for 10 years. It means the world to me. It really does. Whether it's a listener or a guest, whatever. Thank you all so much. For Everything Is Awesome, I am Kev, and you are listening to us right here only on awesomepodcast.com.